there, it's Jen, and I'm back with another process video in my collection Disconnection series. This time I'm using the Pink Paisley and Paige Evans Fancy Free collection. This is the 9th video, so if you haven't seen the previous videos, be sure to check those out. There's a playlist on my channel with all of the videos. And today I thought what I would focus on in this collection is the frames. So there are lots of different materials that you can buy. You can buy the chipboard sheet, you can buy the ephemera package, you can buy the wood pieces, and all of those have some frames in them. So this one comes from the wood glittered pieces. These both come from the ephemera. One's acetate and one is just paper. And then there are a couple on the chipboard sheet as well. So I thought I would play around with frames on this layout. I have 3 photos. I have 5 frames. So I'm going to see, I think I'm probably going to use 4 frames, but we'll see. And I'm going to decide which ones I kind of want to use here. I think it would be cool to use 4 that are all different, so an acetate, a wood, a chipboard, and a paper. So that's my plan. I have these photos of my mom swinging with my daughter and my nephew, and I have these words already taken from the letter stickers that say swing, and I'm thinking that I'm going to put the title, since I have 3 photos and I'm thinking about using 4 frames, that I'm going to put the title within one of the frames. So we'll see how that goes. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work out yet, and so I have them on some wax paper here, but I'm going to keep this layout super simple. I want it really clean, and so when I do a really clean layout, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell, but I have this background that's from Basil, and it is an embossed cardstock, and it has, I'm going to bring it up here so that maybe, there you go. It has an embossed dot print on it. So it's a very subtle texture, but I think it's that detail that's really going to help this layout, because I want to keep it so simple, to stand out. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and cut these pictures down and get my layout going. Okay, so I'm going to start by trimming up my photos, and I'm just using my little swing line trimmer, and I just got that at Staples, and it's fairly inexpensive, or maybe Office Depot. I'll link to it in the video description because I know you can get it on Amazon as well. And I printed these photos at about 2 3/4 by 3 or something like that, just big enough that I knew that they would fit in the frames. And I'm just trying to decide how I want to arrange them. And I decided to go with the smaller pink frame from the chipboard set, even though I kind of wanted the other frame more. But because the wooden frame is a little bit smaller than the other 2, I thought it would balance that so that it could be nice and squared up once I put all 4 of them on. So I'm going to use the one with the pink on it. And I used my EK Success powder tool to take the sticky off the back so I can kind of move it around while I'm deciding how I want to place these. And I'm going to, like I said, put 2, the small one, and then a big one, and then a big one, and then a small one, just so it squares up nicely so the center points don't meet, but the outside edges all line up. And so now I'm just deciding which photos will fit best. And I ended up deciding kind of based on the space. So the 2 smaller frames have a smaller hole. And so I needed to choose the photos that were a little bit farther back. And I couldn't frame up the photo with my mom and my nephew, that bigger one that I'm framing up now. It didn't quite fit into the smaller frames. So that's why I chose that one for the larger frame. Just kind of makes sense that way. And I'm just gluing these down using some Scotch Quick Dry adhesive, just gluing the photo to it and then trimming around the edges where I need to, but for the most part they're pretty good. And then I'm just using some double-sided tape. This is from ThermoWeb, and I am putting that on the backs of the photos, and that's how I'll adhere it to my layout. And I'm really loving that tape right now, even more than just like a regular runner adhesive. I don't know why. There's something so satisfying to me about ripping off the back of that tape. It's a pain for most people, I think. But anyway, I've said that before a million times probably. So sorry if you're sick of hearing me say that, but I like it. So that leaves the acetate frame for me to put my title inside of. And I thought that would work best because when I place the photo underneath that frame, you can see the edges of the photo. And so it works better for that particular frame to just put the title inside of it and not worry about the edges of the photo showing. I thought I was going to staple it down, but I didn't because it was a little too far into the layout. So I just ended up using a little bit of my tape runner adhesive on the very top of the frame. And then I have these letters that I'm going to kind of fit in to the frame, and they're going to overlap both the frame and the paper, so it kind of helps stick the frame down. And I'm just arranging it so that the ing kind of fits under the SW. Because the W is such a large letter and the I is really short, they are almost the same width, but not quite. So I'm liking the way that's looking. And now I'm just going to play around with adding just a few small embellishments here and there. And like I mentioned at the beginning, I want this to be a very clean and simple sort of layout, and so I'm not going to add too much. And I found that Dream, Play, Love acetate piece, and I like the way that it brings in another little hint of that acetate that's in the frame, and also the words work well for this layout. So I am definitely going to use that. And I'm thinking about what I can kind of tuck in next to the title, just something simple. And what I'm doing right now, that was the bottom of a little tag that I had used the top of on another layout, and it's got that little floral on it. And I hand trimmed out the floral piece, and I put some fun foam on the back, and I'm going to stick it next to the word swing. So I went ahead and trimmed down that acetate piece, just trimmed off the right hand side of it, and I'm using some really skinny 1/8 inch double-sided tape to get that taped down. And I kind of thought it might be nice to have that piece look like it goes all the way across the bottom photos, and so I cut a little piece off to stick in the center of the two frames, and then I'm going to have the rest of it hanging off of the right hand side. So here you can see that I'm just kind of laying down my ruler to line it up, and then I'm going to kind of slide that piece in between the frames, and then I'll put the last piece on the right hand side. Now it kind of bugs me in the end, but the acetate piece is a little bit off because the Dream, Play, Love side is it's longer than the other side, and so that kind of bothers me a little bit, but I'm living with it and it's fine. So really I'm just adding a little bit of that double-sided 1/8 inch tape to each one so that I don't have to use very much of it because I don't want to be able to see it. And now I've just gone ahead and on my typewriter typed up a few lines of journaling, and I'm going to place that underneath the word swing, just using some Scotch Quick Dry adhesive in a fine line bottle. And it just says, "They are so lucky to have a grandma who loves to play with them." And then at the bottom, I'll put Sainsbury Farm, which is where my sister's last name is Sainsbury, and this is on the farm that she lives on. To finish this layout off, I'm just going to stamp the date in some Peacock Feathers Distress ink. I just chose Distress ink because that was the color that matched the best, and I'm going to stamp it in that color below where it says Sainsbury Farm. And then I'll glue down my journaling pieces. And I love those fine line bottles that glue comes out of the fine tip. You just buy them empty and fill it with whatever glue you like. So that is going to finish off this layout. I'm going to play around with finding some other pieces that I can include, but I don't think I add anything else. Oh, I do add another little floral piece. You'll see that here in just a second. So while I'm kind of playing around with those, I just wanted to remind you that if you haven't seen the other videos in this series, you can check them out on my YouTube channel. There is a playlist called Collection Disconnection that has all of the layouts in it. And next week will be the last layout, and then I will do a recap with a giveaway. I always do a giveaway at the end of my series here on YouTube, so you can look forward to that. And here I'm just looking through my products to see what else I might be able to add. I'm looking for a floral that can kind of balance the other floral I have at the top. So what I end up finding is this paper that has all of the different patterns on it, and it's from the 12 by 12 paper pad, and I'm going to cut a little bit out of that. I'm also pulling some other little embellishments that I think might work on this layout, and I will use a little piece that I punched a circle from the 6x6 paper pad up at the top. You can see it there now. And that was that I cut from a previous layout, and I'm going to end up using it on the top. So I'm just hand trimming those flowers out, and I decided I needed just a little bit more. I wanted some of the bright green leaves that are in the other floral cluster. So there's kind of a darker green and a bright green. And so I cut a different cluster, and I'm going to kind of layer two of these together just to create what exactly I want here. So just going to glue those down using some of my adhesive, and I kind of tuck it underneath where it says Sainsbury Farm, just so it looks like everything, the more things it can touch, the more it looks like it belongs there. So I put that little it kind of looks like a tab, but that little half circle up at the top, and it seemed a little off, and so I'm just going to punch it so that it's a little bit shorter than it was. The circle looked a little weird to me, so there you can see it's a little bit shorter. And I'm trying to decide if this layout is complete, and it was a little bit off balance. And to fix that, what I'm going to do is mount it onto that gorgeous painted paper from the kit. And it is the perfect thing for borders and matting and that kind of thing. And so it just turned out gorgeous. I love that paper. And you can see on the sides, it just adds the perfect touch to this layout. And so I'm going to just glue that down, and I'm going to add some stitching with my sewing machine. So when I glued that down, it was a little bit off, so I'm just trimming off the excess on the bottom there. And then I will pull over my sewing machine and do a little bit of stitching, and I'm just going to stitch down the two sides of the layout, the right hand side and the left hand side, where I added that paper behind it. And I just love the little bit of detail that stitching adds to a very simple layout. And I will just tape off the ends with some washi tape, which is what I usually do. And then I'm going to kind of rough up the edges of the white paper. And that is going to finish everything off here. So there'll be some close-up photos here at the end. I hope that you have enjoyed. Be sure to head over to my blog at craftyjenscow.com for more information, as well as these close-up photos and links to all of the products that I used. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.